Welcome to lessonswithtroy.com. I'm Troy Brenningmeyer. Well, this week's lesson is called The Chop Part 2. It's actually a follow-up to an older lesson I did covering this technique. But in this one, we're going to take a more in-depth view of the chop. I'm going to show you some different rhythms, some cool kind of syncopations, and some real interesting things that I've learned, over the last few years about this technique. So if you got your tablature, it looks like this. And I've got a lot of these rhythms and chords and things written out here, so it'll be real nice for you to set that on a stand in front of you, and I'll be going over this technique and showing you exactly kind of how I'm doing everything. So let's go ahead and get started here with the chop part 2. Okay, well, let's review real quick on just how to get a good solid chop on the dobro. The first thing you want to do is position your right hand. What I've found is that if you're up here closer to the neck and closer to your sound holes, you do get a little bit better of a tone than back here towards your bridge. Okay, so have your hand up here closer to the sound holes. And the other thing is when you're striking the strings, try to aim for your higher strings. Okay, like try to aim for your third, second, and first string, because it gets a little muddy the more you get down towards your lower strings. Okay, so when you're aiming for it, aim for these top 3 strings. Okay, now the other thing is if I do this in slow motion, what's happening is this part of my hand, the heel of my hand right here, is muting out these strings like that. Okay, so there's not much going on with the left hand. However, I would suggest to just leave it there to mute out any extra noise you might be getting when you let your hand up off the strings, and you can just kind of tilt your bar back to where just your pinky and ring finger are hitting those strings, muting them out. So yeah, so if I even took my left hand off, all that muting is coming with my right hand. And if you did it in slow motion, it looks like this. So you won't always hit the exact strings you want, but just as in general, aim for these higher strings for a better tone, and then know that it's really this part of your hand, the heel of your hand, that's touching those strings to mute them out to give you a good chop. Okay, let's go ahead and jump on into this tab and all these exercises that I'm giving you. Okay, so if you have your tablature, go ahead and check out measure 1. This is the basic fundamentals of this chop. Once again, we're just reviewing for just a second to make sure you understand where this falls in the beat and the basic technique of it. Okay, the chop falls on beats 2 and 4. So in measure 1 there you see a rest, and then you see an X or 3 X's on your third, second, and first string, right? Well, that just means that's the symbol for the chop. That's a muted hit, those X's. That's what that means in the tablature. And those X's, or that mute, falls on beats 2 and 4. And then in measure 1, we just have a rest on beats 1 and 3. So I just want to make sure you understand that it counts like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Once again, not much going on with the left hand. This is just the right hand here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're aiming, remember, for these higher strings. Aim for your third, second, and first string. But, you know, if you happen to hit some lower strings, it's not the end of the world. This is just best case scenario. You get a better sound with these higher strings. Remember, your hand is up here closer towards your sound holes. Okay, so I'm just going to lay my left hand here, not with the bar really on the string, but just kind of my bars tilted off so that I can kind of mute out those strings when I take my hand off. It doesn't hear that sound. And then when I mute out the strings with my left hand, it doesn't get that sound when my hand comes off the strings. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And really work on the sound and the tone of that chop. You really want it to have a snap to it. Now, I have a metronome here set to 100 beats per minute. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to practice and count this off so you can hear it with the metronome. We want that chop to be a real sharp snap on your higher strings. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the metronome, like I said, is set to 100. So that's a good place to start, maybe even a little slower than that if you're having trouble with this, with just the basic idea of this technique. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you want that chop to come through as quickly as you can. The quicker the better. You really want it to be, if you saw like a waveform in Pro Tools or whatever, it would be just a real quick wave. It wouldn't be a long one, just a real sharp, crisp attack on your higher strings. Okay, so if you look now, we'll bring the left hand in here. And if you look there at measure 2, now we've got some chords. Well, let's not worry with measure 3 going to the D chord just yet, but let's just put our bar here on our C chord. And what we're going to do now is we're going to play a chord on beats 1 and 3, and then we'll play the chop on beats 2 and 4. Okay, so it's going to sound like this. And let's just start it off slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I'm just going to remove this for now. It's kind of getting in the way. So if we did just with that, just on the, let's keep it at 85 beats per minute with the metronome. Okay, so we're in tune. We're just going to keep it on that C chord. And this is our beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're strumming on beats 1 and 3 and chopping on beats 2 and 4. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Strum, chop, strum, chop, strum, chop. So that's a good way to kind of start off with that. Now, it's good to just to be playing and get used to now moving the chords. So now we're going to go from just play what's written there, move from that C chord for a measure, and then the D chord for a measure. So 1, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So some things to keep in mind now that we're playing these chords is that do a light, remember our hands up here, still around the sound holes, close to where the neck is, you know, by the sound holes. We're just going to do a light strum, okay, a light strum, and then a hard chop. So instead of that might be kind of hard for you at first. If you're hitting the chop hard, you may be strumming real hard too. But don't do that. Just a light strum and then a chop. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. A little slower. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's try it with a metronome. I'm gonna move it up to about 90 beats per minute. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Strum, chop, strum. Okay, so I'm just on the C chord now. Now let me switch the chords like it's written in the tab. 1, 2, 3, 4. Strum, chop, chop. D, 2, 3, 4. C, 2, 3, 4. D, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's something just to work on as far as getting that, remember, a sharp, crisp attack on your higher strings, but a light strum on the chord. And I'm just building all this up until, later in the tab and later in the lesson, it's going to get way more complex than all this. But let's go ahead and move on to measure 4, and we're gonna keep adding to this, and it'll keep getting a little bit more challenging with each new thing that I show you here. Let's go ahead and move on.